Good afternoon, everyone. So I think we're ready to kick off. Apologies in advance, I'm not used to wearing these headsets. I feel a bit like Madonna. So I will, if any of you start tailing off, I will burst into song. And I don't think any of us want that, so please don't. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the cloud, and in particular the solution that we've developed to help our clients improve the engagement with their customers and ultimately increase the returns they get from revenue. Now, what I'm going to be showing you is examples of where we've actually delivered this for our clients and the results that they've got. But before that, I thought it'd be quite good just to go through and have a look at the challenges that our clients are facing, that the market in general and you as marketers are facing. So a lot of these statistics will probably be pretty obvious to you and things that you'll see time and time again. So the DMA tracking study is something we've used over a number of years to kind of look at the industry and see where the key challenges are. And there's a continuing trend that's happening, particularly in the UK, and it's that the marketplace is getting busier. People thought social media would be the death of email, but actually it's increasing the number of emails that people are sending. And, you know, just to pick out some key stats from here, about 2/3 of your audience, the customers that you're trying to engage with, are receiving huge amounts of emails every week. They estimate this to be 20 plus. So that's not including work emails, that's not emails from friends, that's not even third party. This is from brands that they trust and they've chosen to engage with. So the importance of being able to make that message relevant, to make it timely, to make it personal is absolutely key. If you're going to have a successful email program, you need to be able to make it relevant to that person. However, surprisingly, the stats also show that less than 1/3 of the people they surveyed say that half of the emails they receive are relevant. So there's a real disconnect. You know, we're increasing the amount that we're doing, and there's lots of talk about segmentation and being personalised, but the majority of the messages still aren't there yet. And it's worrying when you think how much data businesses are collecting on customers that they're not able to use it and action it accordingly. And this can actually have a really serious effect on the value or the returns that you get from your email programs. So this is more stats taken from another DMA study. Email as a channel is, you know, arguably the most lucrative, or certainly up there with other digital channels. On average, people are saying they get about £21 return for every pound that they spend. So it's a high amount of money that you can generate. And we're already seeing that over 75% of that revenue comes from non-spray and pray campaigns. So these are more targeted, more personalised, yet there's still a long way to go. So a lot of companies aren't fully utilising this. And, you know, something that really surprised me, that was just under half still don't have a welcome program, which seems like an amazing thing in this day and age. You've not got some sort of program to welcome new customers when they sign up to emails, when they purchase with you. So I'm guessing in the room you guys are pretty much all mainly marketers or involved in email in some aspects. So could I have a quick show of hands? How many of you guys currently have a welcome program? Just under half. Good. So it worked. But this, you know, the impact that this can have on your business can be really significant. So looking at just a welcome program, which is probably one of the most basic programs you can put in place, the actual return on revenue from a standard email is over 800%. So by not doing it, you're significantly reducing the impact you can have with your marketing. And what we're trying to do with the cloud solution that we've developed and where we're using it for our clients is actually help you maximize these programs. Far too many people are focused too much of their time on the production of email, actually what's going into it and producing it, when they really should have the technology in place to automate a number of that process so they can start to look at the strategy and how to engage. So how does cloud support this? Now I think a lot of people, when they think of cloud and how it relates to marketing, kind of get this type of picture. Not literally, but it's a fluffy term. It kind of sort of sits in the background. It's pretty intangible. There's no kind of direct relations. It gets spoken about a hell of a lot, and it's about as interesting as talking about the weather as well. It's a pretty dry subject. But what we're actually seeing is some really key players, and the biggest players in the market, have already adapted this technology to solve that marketing problem of how you can engage with customers and how you can provide them with a personalised service. So probably the most well-known cloud that's out there is the Apple iCloud. You know, the thought of not being able to download your music from your iPhone to your iPad to your iPod now just kind of seems ridiculous. It's just people expect that level of service. Now the iCloud isn't actually a cloud. It's not virtually hosted. It's all in bunkers deep underground in the States, in data warehouses. But the principles of what it's actually trying to achieve are what's important. It's putting the customer at the heart of what the message is, giving them what they want when they want it, and allowing them to access it however they need to. And that's really the important thing for marketers to understand. You've got to start putting your customer at the heart of everything that you're doing. The customers now have control. These are the content generators. These are the people that are the brand ambassadors. These will influence your brand massively. And if you're not delivering them a service that they expect, when they expect it, your competition are going to start doing it. And there's a number of other examples of, again, leading technology companies and different businesses that actually have real clouds where they're virtually holding this data. So Facebook, Google, Amazon are probably the best examples of where a company is handling huge amounts of data to provide a very personalized, targeted and timely service to its customers. And what we're trying to solve from an email perspective is exactly the same. It's how can we deliver that quickly? So automating it, how can we make it relevant, so make it targeted, and how we can make it secure. So what we've done in effect is repurpose what people like Facebook and Google and Amazon done to our own ends to help our clients. So that's revolutionizing email. We're not certainly the drivers behind it. It's the clever people at these companies that have kind of led us to it. And I think the biggest challenge that marketers face, above all, is how they can handle this data explosion that's happened. There's so many different channels, so many different touch points to engage with your customers. To be able to look at that, create a single customer view, or whatever you want to call it, and engage with them is increasingly difficult. And this is really the sort of change of focus that marketers have. They're moving away from being purely marketers to actually becoming information marketers, so CIMOs as opposed to CMOs. And in terms of what they need to do now is to invest in technology that fits around their business, that allows them to access the data that they have in place so they can engage with their customers. But this is a really big problem to face. You know, as these different channels have developed, data gets collected in different ways, in different forms, and becomes siloed within a business. So when I go and talk to a lot of our prospects and a lot of our clients, this type of diagram is something they're generally quite familiar with. You know, it's great. We're talking to all of our customers. We've got social media. We've got our customer database, review sites. There's lots of information being fired in from a number of different sources. And in a lot of cases, it actually benefits the business to collect it this way. It's the best way that they can engage with their customer at that particular touch point. However, what it means is they end up marketing to a channel and not to an individual. But as customers, we're not loyal to a channel. We just expect to get results. We just expect people to know who we are. And it's that kind of instant gratification that people are looking for, because we live in a disposable society where people just want to be able to get the information when they want it. And that's what's expected. So the challenge for the marketers is being able to access and use all of this data to deliver that service. And there's lots of people here talking about omni-channel and multi-channel and cross-channel. And you know, they're all kind of saying the same thing. They're quite jargony terms, but at the end of the day, you've got to put the customer at the heart of it. And the key to doing that is being able to manage your data effectively. To give you an example, actually, this is from last year. Well, I spoke here last year on a similar topic. My wife was on Facebook, and she received a message from a mobile phone provider, and it was offering her fantastic tariff to get the new Samsung. So she was about a month or so away from the end of her contract. So she called them up and said, "Oh, I've seen the offer that you've sent to me via Facebook. I'd like to actually take that offer up." And she was told at that point that actually she couldn't because it was only for new customers. She's like, "Well, why the hell are you contacting me? You know, I only engage with you because I'm a customer. You must know who I am." And they wouldn't do it. So she actually ended up moving providers. But the customer service, the customer experience is bad. And, you know, they knew that she was a customer, but they weren't able to link it to where they were sending out their social messages. So that disconnect is going to have an increasing problem for marketers. So they need to be able to pull that information together to understand who they're talking to, when and why. Now, the old way that us in the email world used to solve this, and a number of people still do, you'd get all of those databases in their different formats, normalize the table, so get every row and every column to match up, pull out the relevant information, and then send the message. And that worked okay. The problem is it would take a huge amount of time to actually do it. So you can't talk to people in real time. You can't automate it as well. But also where you're using manpower, It's a lot of resource, so it's very expensive, and it's open to human error. So you actually get a bottleneck that you can't get the messages out when you need to engage with your customers. So what we've developed is a solution that uses cloud technology, so it's based on Hadoop, to actually allow you to access all of your data as it already is. So what you're not having to do is rechange those tables. We pick up the different databases that you might have in their native format and store them in the cloud. What we're then able to do is run what are in effect really inefficient searches of every row and every column to pull out that information. But because it's a number of virtually linked PCs, it happens almost instantly. It removes the need to have manpower, so you're not having to employ people, so you remove the time and cost effort. You can automate that entire process. You can send out real-time, highly targeted, highly personalized messages, pulling in feeds from a number of different sources, so the customer gets what they expect. A good example of where we've done that, where it's worked really well, is with Halfords. So Halfords have been a client of eCircle's for about 5 or 6 years. When they first came on board, I think like many companies, they were sending very generic newsletter messages, blasting it out to their entire list. They've started to develop their program with us over a number of years, and they've really got quite a sophisticated program that they run now. So part of what we used to do was a basket abandonment campaign. Fairly standard. Someone would go online, view a product, not purchase it. We would get a feed from the web analytics company, and then we'd send out a message. And that worked okay. That has an uplift in sales for them, and it's quite effective. But they started asking, how can we do more? They know for a fact that if they've got user-generated content, it contributes 65% of the clicks to purchase. It has a massive uplift, putting peer-related information in. So they worked with a reviews company who had a separate database with all of the products and all of the reviews. They also have their product catalogue that runs off the back of their website that also includes purchase history for a customer as well as stock levels. And what we're able to do by placing those different data sets into the cloud is automatically and instantly reference a particular bike, in this case, that they might have viewed, and pull in not just that product with the stock levels, the latest price from the website and the user reviews, but we can pull in related products. So it might be bikes of a similar price range to give people an option. It might be ancillary products, so helmets, bike locks, whatever it might be. But we can create a really personalized, targeted message that's full of user-generated content, that's completely automated and be sent out. Now, this particular program, they're currently running, they've been running it for a while, a couple of years, actually has 120% uplift in sales per week from what it initially cost to deploy it. So the profitability of it is extremely high for Halfords, but the user experience is great for the customer. They're not just getting a, you looked at this, buy me now message. They're actually getting something that's tailored to who they are and with relevant information. Another good example for where we've developed, using the same technology but in a slightly different way, is with 3Mobile. So again, we've been working with them for a couple of years, and they came to us with a challenge. What they wanted to do was reduce the time and cost it took to engage with their new customers. So what they used to do was produce a contract, paper-based. It will go through a system and get sent out. So it took approximately between 5 and 7 days to reach that customer. So a long period of time and hugely expensive. What we were able to do for them was actually, by using the cloud, we could place all the different information that had to go into that communication, so personal data. We also had to put in the tariff or the plan that they were on, and then also the contract information. Again, automatically pulled from a central source into the cloud. We then, rather than doing it the old-fashioned way through print, we could do it securely via email, so it's paperless, and it could be sent out automatically. What would happen is someone would receive that email. If for any reason it bounced back, so they might have entered their email address in wrong, they might have moved job, whatever it might be, that would automatically come back into our system and trigger an SMS to that mobile number. Dear John Smith, tried to send you your contract, email bounce. Can you please reply with your new email? They'd simply send that email address back via the SMS. It would trigger another email with the contract to them, which they would then have to confirm that they've opened it. At which point, once they've done that, that would automatically update our database and go back to their central CRM and update the information there. So it's actually working across multiple channels. If for any reason the person didn't re-engage, after a period of 2 weeks, the call centre is automatically contacted via our system to put a call in. So as a customer service experience, it's fantastic, and it just works. But for them, they're saving over £150,000 a month by delivering that. We don't get any of that back, unfortunately, but for them, it's a really successful program. It just shows how you can use the data that they already have to great effect, to improve the service and to save costs and drive revenue. And the thing is, there's only really 5 key things that we're doing with our cloud. You have the data. We're storing it in our own cloud so that you can access it. You're able to merge that data together so you can pull in related products, understand if people are buying this product, what's the other product that they're looking at. You can then run these complex queries incredibly quickly so you can pull out the relevant information and place it into a communication. And then we can automate that delivery. So that whole need of spending 80–90% of your time on production is removed. You can actually start looking at the results and how you're engaging with people and look at improving that. And I think most importantly of all, the final step is all of that information can feed back into your systems. Whether it's feeding into one central database or into many different data pots. We're actually adding a huge amount of information on a customer, how they've interacted, how they've engaged, and you can access that back in your proprietary on-premise systems. So it can have a real big impact. A good example as well where we've done it on a very large scale, a few of you might be aware that the Olympics took place last year, so obviously it's a very big event, and there was understandably quite a bit of paranoia that the London transport would collapse and everyone would be left stranded. In particular, for one of our clients, this was kind of hypertension for them because we work with TfL. So in the build-up years before, and again, we've worked with them for a number of years, they were becoming increasingly paranoid that the world was going to end as soon as the Olympics started. And we've been working with them to develop a program that would ensure, when it did happen, which they kind of anticipated it would, we could still engage with their customers and keep them informed. So the whole Keep London Moving was kind of vital for them. So we were sending upwards of 4 million emails per day. So a huge volume of messages that were being sent out to these customers, informing them of what's happened on different routes, if there's any delays. So we're pulling not only information on the particular customer, but we're also pulling in related information from what stations and what routes they actually go via. So rather than send someone an email with every single delay and every single problem, we can target it to who those people are. So based on things like Oyster card data, what's the route that they normally travel? Pull that in, associate it with that person, and only send the relevant information for any delays on that route. What they also wanted to do was actually use the public as the ambassadors. So they were really keen to engage the people that are using the transport to keep them up to date. The guys that are on the ground are going to know what's happening quicker than TfL would. So what we started to look at was how can we pull in social data and push social data out to actually inform people. So something that we did within the emails that we were sending out, all the different blocks would be able to be sent individually. So if you wanted to forward it to a friend, so on a Saturday you're going to watch Chelsea play, for instance, and you're going to need to go onto the Circle line, you can just share the Circle line update onto your Facebook, onto your Twitter. So you can actually push it out to all of your friends and colleagues and whoever you're going out to meet so you can keep them aware of any delays. But what we're also doing as well was pulling information into it. So Twitter they identified as a really good opportunity to get up-to-the-date information of what's happening on certain routes. So these feeds will be put into emails that would be live on the point of opening. So if I got an email and opened it at 9, it would have different information from someone that's opened it at 9:05. And this is coming direct from the public. So it's a huge amount of data, again, that we're pulling in real time into the cloud, picking out the relevant information and then placing it into this email. And again, for a customer, that's great. They open it up, they know that there's issues, they can read what people are saying. So again, putting user-generated content into any message has a massive, massive impact. So there's a number of other examples of different industries where we work with people. One that I particularly like because of its simplicity is Cineworld. So a lot of you guys will know who they are, big cinema chain up and down the UK. They had a really simple aim that they wanted to send their customers information about the films that they like to watch that are on in their local cinema. Easy. Should be able to do that, no problems. But actually behind it is quite complex. Because what they had a small customer preference center. So they'd have the person's name, address, and the types of films that they like, rom-coms, horror, whatever it might be. They then had a separate database that was all of the cinemas with their addresses up and down the UK and the film listings that were on at each of those, and that was housed in another place in a different way. Separate to that, they had their website, so they had all of their live trailers, all of their live blurbs that they were updating as they were going on. And then separate to that, there's a booking system that will say if a program's sold out, if there's any concessions. So all of this data, 4 different pots, 4 different formats that it's saved in, needed to be brought together to produce this one email. So by using the cloud, we place the 4 into the cloud, search the preference center, pull out John Smith. He lives in Hackney. He likes rom-coms. So that we can then reference the film listings for Hackney, pull in the rom-coms that are on in Hackney, then go to the booking and pull in any times that aren't sold out, that have any concessions that may or may not apply, so we can drop those out, automatically create that email and send it out. So all of the content around the blurb and the trailers is being pulled directly from their website. So no one's having to re-input that. There's no duplication of work. The production element is almost completely removed. And this email will be sent out automatically. Really simple call to action, book now. So the customer actually gets what they want. In effect, they've seen a very clear, simple looking email, but behind it is quite complex. So doing it the old way, it was really difficult to get the cinema listings in. So you'd end up having every single cinema that was in there, or difficult to get the trailers in, so you'd have all of the different trailers for all the films. So it becomes more generic and it's less engaging for the actual customer. And we're working on similar things for Channel 4 as well. So we work with them and they have their on-demand service. So in terms of logging in, you have to use your email as your user ID. So as soon as you're on the website, we know who you are. Now, what they wanted to do was send people weekly, or in some cases daily, updates of the programs that are on, but also personalize it so it's ones that people have actually highlighted in their preferences. So comedy, football, whatever it might be, and actually pick those out and send it to them. Now, rather than waste that message by showing them programs that they've already watched, because they understand that it's, people are busy, they're receiving 20 plus emails, it needs to be tailored. What we're able to do is, we know, again, if John Smith has been onto the website and he's viewed relocation, we can drop that out and replace it with another program that matches his preference. So he's only ever going to get relevant, timely information about programs he likes. Now, he probably won't even realise that we're dropping the information out for the programs that he's watched. But again, the impact it can have and the levels of engagement massively increase because everything in it is relevant to that person. So just to sort of wrap up, I wanted to go through a few sort of key takeaways. And we've kind of touched on some of this already, but the UK market is busy and it's getting busier. It's increased 15% pretty much on average year on year. What businesses are starting to do, what marketers are starting to do, is to realise that they need to be better at engaging with those customers. So the focus for all of these people is around how can we personalise, how can we make it more relevant, how can we segment better than we currently are. And if they're going to do that, obviously the production will massively increase and the man hours, so they need to be able to automate those processes. But they also realise that there's a massive challenge. 71%, they're not prepared for the data explosion. They've probably got a number of different point solutions sat around the business, which that in itself is a nightmare to manage, but they're not able to access and use that data. And that data explosion will also cover the growth of channels and device choices, social media, that all kind of wrapped up into one massive problem that people need to solve. And what we're starting to see as well is that the investment is going into this now. So it's into the digital infrastructure. It's investing in email tools and different tools that can actually deliver this type of service. So you can start putting the customer at the heart of the messages that you're sending by fitting the technology to the business rather than the business to the technology, which is kind of what's happened. And what we can do with our cloud technology is actually help you achieve this. So in terms of how it works, it's very simple to set up. You're not having to change business structures or how you actually collect and use that data. What you're doing is just allowing someone to access it and pull it into a place where you can action it. So it's very quick, very cost effective. You're also automating it as well. So the turnaround times to get campaigns out can be increased massively. So I don't think I mentioned it, but for Cineworld, we reduced the production time for that email. Apart from making it more relevant, we reduced it from 7 hours to 20 minutes. And for 3 Mobile, reduced it from 5 days down to 2 days that they're contacting these people. So it's a massive reduce in terms of the time to engage with your customers. And there's lots of stats out there that show the quicker you engage with someone when they've shown an interest, the better the return you can get from them. And also, you're not having to, we probably have to involve them a little bit, but you're not having to involve IT too much. This is a marketing tool. You're not having to completely change the databases that you're doing and employ a company to come in and spend hundreds of millions over a number of years to put a full singing, dancing CRM in. You can carry on as you are and use the integrations to pull the data so you can start accessing it and talking to people.